Okay, so we'll just start with, I want to go back even before when you met, because that's where everybody kind of starts. But I want to get to know you individually. Like, what was your maiden name?
Dwight.
It's
Dwight.
Dwight. And where did you grow up?
I was born in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and moved to Montana, Butte, Montana, which was really great. Then we moved down to Visalia, California, in 1933. And it was always by big mountains. That's what I loved. Everywhere I've been, it's by big, huge, beautiful mountains. And so this was a special town in Visalia was at that particular time.
What did your parents do? Were they farmers? Were you a city girl?
Not a city girl. My father was with the Metropolitan. He was a manager with the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. And as any big companies do, they always are moving people around. But when we came to Visalia, we were lucky enough that I was in the first grade and I got to finish in the 12th grade, the year of high school, my senior year in high school. And my father and mother had moved down to Bakersfield that last year of my high school in '45. And I lived with my sister so I could finish my senior year here at Visalia.
Were you from a big family, a small family?
No, it was an average. It was three sisters. I was the youngest. And we were my oldest sister was 10 years older than myself, and my middle sister was 3 years older than I was. But I was always the one that was kind of in the way, trying to get in on things, and I was too little, as somebody would say. So I always thought that if I have children, I'll always just either have 2 children or 4 children. I will not have odd number.
Yes.
Anyway, that was it.
Is that when you were a little girl, is that what you wanted to do, be a mom? Or what were you
No,
thinking?
I didn't like baby dolls.
Yes.
I like grown-up dolls. And I loved to play like I was an Indian. I just had that. I loved horses. I would go even on the rag man's big old wagon. He'd go with rags, bottles, and whatever. And my mother saw me coming down the alley on this horrible old wagon with this dear man that was very old.
Yeah.
And she could hardly get out there fast enough to get me off of that thing. But I was behind a horse. I just thought that was about the best thing that could happen.
So you weren't your traditional little girl. You weren't
No.
dreaming of just...
No.
Yeah. What, as far as career and your life, what were you...
I loved to draw. I always thought I would be in something like that, either fashion, drawing it for newspapers, the things that would come out the next week at these stores, or design for apartments. I loved that idea of mapping out a home and figuring it out and things like that when I was young. And I was planning on going to an art school after I graduated, but this darling human being next to me, this darling man, came into my life, and everything was put aside.
And speaking of this darling man, now tell me about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
Well, my father was with Tidewater Associated Oil Company, which you probably have never heard of. But anyway, being in a company like that, they would move them from place to place. So we started out way up in Ukiah, then moved down to Petaluma, and then from Petaluma we went down to San Mateo, and from San Mateo then we moved to Visalia, because his company would keep moving him around. So I grew up more or less in Visalia.
And did it bother you moving around a lot, or just...
Yeah. Yes.
Did I what?
Did it bother you to move around?
Oh, well, yeah, I wasn't very happy, like in San Mateo there. My gosh, all the kids would have little knickers and argyle socks and silk shirts, and no place to play. Everything was blacked up at the school. And so I didn't like that very well. So then, by contrast, when we moved down to Visalia, everybody was the informal. The kids would be barefooted the last month of the school year, and so that was a lot more fun. I like that better.
So were you living in a town?
Yeah, he lived right there in Visalia. And so then my dad bought some land out by Ivanhoe, which is maybe 8 or 10 miles from Visalia. And he had grapes and plums and peaches. And so I enjoyed that, the farming part of it.
Were you the only boy?
Yeah, I had 2 sisters,
Okay.
older sisters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so they didn't like it out on the farm, but I just loved it out there. I helped my uncle build a house there on the farm, and so that made it nice. So we lived there on the farm and took the bus into Visalia High School each day.
Okay, so you're in Visalia, is that how you?
Yeah, Visalia.
Visalia, and you're in Bakersfield still.
No, Visalia.
You're in Visalia.
He also
okay.
came to Visalia.
We both the same year came to, the families both came the same
Yeah,
year in
yeah,
33.
yeah.
Was it a small community there?
Yes, it was. It was about how many? 7,000?
Oh, well, maybe 8 or 10,000
Yeah.
is all in
Oh, okay.
Visalia. Now it's about 100 and something, but
It was kind of a cattle town.
Yeah.
It felt like that. It was a rural, but it
one of
had
the oldest towns in
right.
the San
It
Joaquin
had
Valley.
old families
Yeah.
that'd been there a
Yeah.
long.
So,
So what year were you in school there? Do you know,
So
when you started?
yeah, I just started I guess I started fifth grade in the little 2-room school, and I just had a ball. I loved that there. There was only maybe 30 or 40 kids altogether.
So were you in his class?
Oh no, we went. He's speaking when he went out to
Out
Ivanhoe.
on the farm, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
But the first day he went to school there at Washington School in Visalia, tell how you found out that
Oh,
you
yeah.
weren't supposed to wear knickers.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we just came down from San Mateo. So I go to school there in the 5th grade with my little Argyle socks, patent leather shoes, and a silk shirt. And everybody else was in Levi's and blue shirts with the sleeves cut out. So right away I was the big sissy. But what they didn't know is that my 2 older sisters, we used to wrestle a lot on the front room floor. And so one of the guys tackled this dumb sissy, and she's like it out wrestling really. I had all kind of experience. So I went home and I told my mom, and so she took me downtown and bought a pair of Levi's and a blue shirt. And after that, there was no trouble.
I think you could have wore pink knickers after you beat them in wrestling, and they would.
Yeah. So that was kind of a fun experience. And so after that, I fit right in and had a good time. And so then I went to high school and to Visalia Union High School. And there was about 1,500 kids in the school. It was a big school because the buses brought them in from all around the countryside. And so we had a good time there. But I think you were a freshman when
you
I
were
was a
senior.
senior.
Yeah.
And so we danced a little bit at the noon dances, but she was too young to date at that time.
Yeah. He.
What did you think this big senior asked you to dance? I mean,
Well,
that had to be-
he was very good looking, as you can understand.
Everybody's good looking when you're young.
Well, anyway, he was very well built too because of farming, and I thought he was really something else. Anyway, but like he said, he wouldn't speak to me. He wouldn't notice me at all, except at the dance, for the noon dances. They had a jukebox in the gym,
Yeah.
and it didn't cost anything. You just go up and get the music that you wanted. So it cost 5 cents to go in there on a Tuesday, and you could dance there, and it was really fun because you had all the goods of Glenn Miller and all of them on. But anyway, so I still thought he was neat. And then you just go on and talk about what you did after that. But we did meet again when I was a senior, and that's when we got together.
Were you gonna? Okay, so then you graduate from the high school, and then what happens?
Yeah, then I graduated and I went one semester to Visalia Junior College. And then I got drafted. I went into the Army at 18.
What year is this?
That's 1943 when I went into the Army. Graduated in 42 in June, and then in early 43 I went into the Army.
But tell him you had wanted to, didn't you want to fly?
Oh, well, yeah, when we were out there on the farm, we'd be pruning grapes or plums or whatever, and you could see the air cadets would be flying around doing the aerobatics and whatnot. So I thought, boy, that'd be fun. I'd like to go into the Air Corps. But my dad says, oh, they'll never get you anyway. You know, you're farming and this and that. And so I didn't sign up for the Air Corps or anything. So then I got drafted. And so then it was too late to go in the Air Corps.
Well, at that age too, you had to have your parent permission to get into
Well,
the
I was
to
18. But,
yeah, to serve.
mm,
After 21, you could do it on your own, but you needed your parents' permission. So it kind of made it that way for him. So he just waited.
yeah. So I went all through the war time there. And started out in anti-aircraft artillery and 90 millimeter guns down Riverside. And then from there, they were going to make engineers out of us guys, so they sent us to Indiana University. And then the Army folded the program up after one semester. And so, so then I was assigned to the 20th Armored Division down in Kentucky. And I didn't like that very well, so I volunteered for the paratroopers. And I went to Fort Benning and went through the parachute school and like that. And then I was assigned to a unit in North Carolina, and we did demonstration jumps for the big generals around the world as well as here. And so that was kind of nice duty.
Demonstration jumps?
Yeah, we would jump. They would have the officers were in grandstands in a big field out in the front, and so we would jump out and come down there and put the machine guns and the mortars and whatnot together and demonstrate how that worked. And so that was our job. The other guys were all overseas getting shot at, and here we were making demonstration jumps, so that was pretty fun.
I imagine your mom was pretty happy with that assignment.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to what it
She wasn't happy with him being a paratrooper because that was like the Green Beret.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to go, but you never had to go.
No, so I,
Right,
and
okay.
the 17th Airborne was there at the same time at the same camp that I was in, Camp Campbell, Kentucky, and, Camp McCall, North Carolina. And so then they filled out the 17th Airborne to full strength to go overseas, and they took all the guys in my unit, and almost all of them, except me. And I didn't understand why, but they said, well, it says on your record you had artillery basic, and we're just taking the infantry guys. And I'd been in the infantry for a year. So anyway, so then I went to, volunteered for the officers training camp there at Fort Benning, Georgia. So I went through that easy. It was easy after the parachute school. And so I got a commission and came home and we got married.
He just jumped a little bit, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that sounds
So,
good to me.
So I got to come home before I got a commission several times, and so I dated this little gal here.
But how did that happen? I mean, you didn't just come home and she had the yellow ribbon around the old oak tree.
No.
Then what happened at this point?
Okay, I like to tell it because
You
it's,
tell us.
it's my story.
Yes.
I was living with my sister right across the street from the high school last year, like I said, because my parents had moved down to Bakersfield, and I was girls' league president, which was kind of nice for a girl, you know, the student body president, the girls' league president, and like that. And so they said that wasn't fair, especially for a girl at senior to go someplace in a whole new school. You might as well forget it. Anyway, so I was there and heard that Dubois was home for this Christmas. That was right after he became a trooper, a paratrooper. So they give him a leave for a couple of weeks or whatever.
Yeah, it was about 10 days.
And so I heard, you know, Bill was home. and I knew he was going out with all the different people that he had remembered from school. So this one night I was going out to this dance with this friend of mine, just a good guy, and he said that Bill had a date with this girl that he used to go with, had gone to school. This fellow asked Bill that next morning if he could take her to the Sierra, which was the place to go on a Saturday night at Visalia.
Dance hall.
From dance hall. It was from all over. All the different towns would come to this one place, and they during the war especially, because the Navy guys would hitchhike up from San Diego or anything to be there. And anytime one of them would come in, everybody started cheering. It was just a wonderful place. Watched out for. So Bill said, sure, go ahead. So that left him without a date. So his sister said, well, what about the youngest white girl? And he said, oh, she's too young. And she said, for Pete's sake, that's 3 years ago. She's a senior. And he thought, oh, okay. So he called up about 1 o'clock in that afternoon and wanted to know if I would go to the dance. And I said, what am I, the 13th or 14th? And he gave this little, oh, come on, blah, blah, blah. And so my sister said, oh, go ahead. So I said, okay, swell. And when he walked up to the door in his trooper boots, and oh my goodness, and he looked pretty good. And I was lucky that I could wear some really neat things that my sister had also. So I had a cute red suit on, and we went to the dance at the Sierra. And everybody was very surprised to see me there with Bill. And it was real fun. It was really neat. We hit it off. I can't say anything else somehow. And so he asked, the next morning he came over to our little apartment, and he said, good, I don't have to go down south. I was planning on going down to LA, but I got out of it. And he said, could I take you to the New Year's dance? Because this was the 30th, and now this is the 31st. And I hadn't planned on going, because most of the fellows that I knew were overseas or someplace, and I'd been writing to maybe 15 or more young men that I knew just because it was a neat thing to do. I enjoyed it. And so I was all excited about that. So we went to the New Year's dance. And but let me back up. The night before, when he brought me home, he went back home to his mother's house, and he said to his mother, he went into her bedroom, and he said, Mom, I think I've met the girl I'm going to marry. And he didn't say that to me or anything. He didn't even say I love you or anything. But anyway, so we went to the New Year's dance, and it's a thing that everybody kisses everybody at New Year's. I thought that's what we always did. Well, this one fella made the mistake of thinking that was an okay thing. And my honey, Bill, just took his little face and just pushed him across the dance floor like that. And he said, just don't do this. Don't you kiss anybody else tonight. And so that was what we didn't do. And so the next morning we got up and went up to the mountains to snow, and he got a toboggan. And we went up there, and we sat up in the snow and talked. And we had so many things in common. And when we were going up there, the thing that caught me, and it's funny, it's little things. We stopped, he pulled out on this road going up to Sequoia. He pulled out and he said, look at that across there. Well, it was foggy. All the way across it looked like a huge ocean between these two mountains areas. And I thought, my goodness, this fellow, nobody ever did that. A guy you'd never notice. I thought, this is somebody very special. He notices pretty things and beautiful things. So it was starting. So that's how it kind of started for me. I saw him as a very different human being, and I could relate to him much more than the other fellows that I was so-called thinking about. And that's how we started. And he started writing, and then, like I said, he went to officers training after that because he wanted to do something more than just, he said, I'm either going to be a